And we're here.
Well, howdy, how are you?
I've been busier than a one-legged dog in a butt-kicking contest.
You know what? I hear you, buddy. I hear you. Mr. Face. Mr. Face.
Mr. Face
Tell me, how was your week? You said you were busy. What did you do? You got a big day coming up.
Well, work it, yeah. Big day, wedding day, February 17th.
Yeah,
Yeah, gonna go ahead and take that plunge. Yeah,
I'm happy for you, buddy.
yeah. Took me a
Good.
long time to find the right person, so that's a plus.
You know what? Sometimes it takes a long time. Sometimes it takes a long time to find your person. I understand. I
Hey, babe.
understand
Hey, babe.
how
Hey,
you feel.
Stephanie.
And you know what? You're worth it. So, and she's a
Oh,
good woman. She's a fantastic woman.
she
So,
is.
like,
Really.
I mean, you can't go wrong, right?
And she can tolerate me, so I mean, when you get to a point where you can tolerate me, you're doing something. Hey, what's going
Right?
on? Jane, Brandy, how you doing?
Everybody.
Herbie, what's up? Hope you're feeling better, Herbie. Hey, so yeah, that and I've been hitting the gym
Oh,
every other day.
yeah.
Been hitting the
Yeah.
weights, do something with this old
Uh-huh.
body of mine. I'm feeling my
Yeah.
age.
How's it working for you?
I'm feeling my age.
Yeah.
Um, that didn't used to hurt are hurting.
Well,
So
you know what? I'm not even going to the gym and I hurt for you. So
I
you
mean, it's
stop.
doing its job. It's working. It's working. I'm
You
dropping
say the
loads
word
of it
gym,
real quick.
it bothers me. It just, I'm
Yeah.
allergic to it. I'm sorry. I'm allergic to it.
I hear ya. I hear ya. Hey, Joanne, long time no see. Tara, how are you? Um, yeah, it's just I'm trying to. There's no way in God's name I'll be able to have myself in the right frame of mind and right physical body by the 19th, but I'm going to give it my best shot. Yeah.
You know what? It's the thought that counts.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's the thought that counts. My arms and my back and my body is saying yeah, there's a lot more than that that counts. But buddy.
I always tell everybody that, my mind is saying chocolate, but my waistline is saying celery.
Sorry. Yeah, right. Yeah, I put up a picture a little while ago, and don't love putting on food pictures. And I put one up of this huge salad that I had for dinner.
Oh, I
Um,
saw that.
a huge salad, and I've never been a salad guy, but this woman spun me around, did a 180 on the salad thing, and I'm like, I feel like a big furry rabbit for whatever that's worth.
Well, this is good.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining us. As you know, we are all on different simultaneous networks. We're simulcasting at the same time. So Richard can see all your comments, but I can't. So if you have something specific for me, please put my name in it. I know that my internet is not the best tonight. I apologize for that. It never is. My little gerbils in the wheel are not running as fast as they should be. So I apologize for that. If I lose you guys, I promise you I'll be back.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? The gerbils need a break. You know?
We all do. We all do. We all do. We all do. Yes.
It's yeah. I mean, I'm lucky enough here in the States to be able to have a solid gig of speed, And I'm trying my best, guys. We're trying our best to have a very professional podcast for you. I even went ahead and got this present and euro. Yeah, I feel almost like a pro now. It's kind of,
right.
I had to have those. Is this on YouTube Live? Ron? No, it's not. I have to. Hey, Nadine. Hey, Courtney. And Bev. Yep. No, it's not. I am sorry. We will get there eventually. Alfred, how's it going, buddy?
Hello.
Bev, good to see you guys.
Hey,
Melissa,
Nadine, Jean, everybody, Stephanie, Meg, how's it going, everybody? So
everybody,
tonight's
good.
topic, what are we talking about tonight, Richard?
You know, got to leave it in the past. Got to leave it. Boom, boom. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really, and I'm very upfront guy. I will tell you, this is past lives. Now, past lives is not my wheelhouse. It is my illustrious partner's wheelhouse. It is not my wheelhouse. So
Okay.
I will have some interjection, but not a lot. So you're going to be hearing a lot of Katie, which I'm sure you probably prefer. But you know,
Please,
I'll
please.
just sit here and play the executive producer role and bring up questions as need be and let you know what they are if you can't see them. That kind of good stuff.
Well,
Yeah,
we've
no,
talked about. I mean, we've talked about past lives before. You know, we have broached the subject before, but I don't think we've really gotten in depth on how timelines work and how parallel dimensions work and how we tap into different dimensions.
Thank you, Alfred.
You know, how we're always going into different dimensions. I think that you know, it's something that's worth talking about, and I think it's a subject that everybody would be quite happy to kind of get into. And that's why, you know, when we talked, you know, earlier about what we were going to chat about this episode, that's why I thought, you know, we thought this would be something to broach on.
Well, you know, I mean, yeah, we've skimmed the surface on it a couple of times, but I think, you know, you and I have had off air comments and conversations about the reason why even like you and I were so close immediately. I mean, that started like 4 or 5 years ago.
Yep.
And it was instantaneous that we had that friendship, sister brother, boom. And you're going to explain why that's happened, because you know a lot of people need to know. You know, why do you feel so comfortable with somebody immediately? Why do you feel an attachment to another person? There's a lot of reasons behind it, and this lovely lady is going to explain why.
So, guys, as you know, Richard and I have talked many hours about, you know, death and how it occurs and, you know, what happens when you die and so on. But we haven't gotten into the fact that, you know, what happens on the other side, what you're doing to prepare to come over here, and when you come back. Wow, we've already got a question.
Already got
Wow,
first question.
okay.
Harvey asks, how can people be sure about past lives as opposed to deja vu feeling?
Okay.
Good question. Good question that we're going to let Katie answer.
Okay, so past lives. Okay, so deja vu is your higher level of consciousness remembering what you've written for yourself, only you don't realize you've forgotten because you have amnesia. And this is where we get into death. So that's a great question, Herbie, to bring into the topic, because really it kind of defines why we come here. So as everybody knows, we all have souls, we all have soul ties, we have soul families, and we reincarnate, we go through a descension process and come back into the earth plane multiple times to learn learning lessons. Richard and I have talked about this so many times, where I often refer to it as a schoolhouse. It's a one-room schoolhouse. We're all learning at the same time. We're in different grades at different levels, but we're learning together. That deja vu moment is what your soul is consciously remembering, or having that kind of tip of the tongue moment of what has been predetermined on the other side. And oftentimes I tell people that it's like writing a book. We're preparing a book, or we're in the classroom on the other side, and we're preparing to come back to reincarnate and to learn more learning lessons. So that deja vu is you remembering that monumental moment of what's been written already. As far as a past life is more, it's a flash memory. So it's a past memory. It's not something like you feel like you've been there before. Okay, so when you get into a deja vu, I feel like I've been here before, I've done this before. That's kind of a present consciousness. Past lives is when you walk into a room and something triggers you, or you meet a person such as Richard, and you know that you're comfortable with them. You've been with this person before. You don't know how you know them, or that you're so comfortable, but Richard and I know that we are part of a soul family. It's part of a soul family on the other side. And because of that soul family, that soul tie, there's that comfortability that we have with each other. And it just happened. It's not like we tried. It wasn't like we were, you know, it wasn't a challenge. It just happened. That's how you know past lives. And usually it's a trigger that occurs. It's not so much walking into a moment and going, I think I've been here before, or I think I remember this. Yeah.
Well, Nadine has a question. I actually think it's a really interesting question. Is there a final life or last reincarnation?
Absolutely. So we all have guides. Richard and I have talked about guides, and we've talked about the difference between guides and angels. Angels are completely different beings. Okay, they're sentient beings. They're different. They have never been human. They're products of the universe. You know, God. And they help us perform miracles and protect us and all of that stuff. They fight evil. Guides are people who guide us on our path, and they are the keyword people. They are people who finished reincarnating. They're no longer reincarnating. They're no longer descending to the earth plane as a human, and they're now guiding us on our journey. And we usually have a few of them assigned to us every every lifetime. Sometimes they last the whole time. Sometimes they last for part-time. I had a guide up until I was probably about 17 years old that didn't come around. I've also had one of my guides, I call him Jack, who's been with me my whole life. And he is not who you would think. He's a bushy beard, big brute man that you wouldn't think that would be kind of a guiding light, but that's how he appears to me. So to answer your question, yes, people are finished their incarnations, they're done the earth plane, and they come back to guide us and help us through. And that's still the learning process, they're just not alive.
Well, and Nadine's full of really good questions. So I like this. Guys, if you've got questions, now is the time, because it's a rarity that I ever shut up. So now's the time to get the answer that's going to come across more succinctly, professionally, and with thought. Okay. Nadine said, do you believe we had the same people in multiple lives? You kind of touched on that. Same.
Yeah, you mean family members and friends?
Yeah, I think she saw guides and, the same people and things like that.
Okay, so really, that's a really cool question. All these questions are cool. We have all been men. We've all been women. We've all murdered. We've all been murdered. We've starved. We've died of gluttony. We've done absolutely every yin to the yang, okay? The whole purpose is we're rounding our soul. We're becoming better soul beings, and for the greater good, we're heightening the vibration through learning, almost like being a well-rounded individual. You've heard the term old soul and young soul. Some you talk about some children, they're just old souls. They're not, they're a typical child. Or the young soul is somebody who could be in their 80s and they're still, jumping on a trampoline, doing flips off of a diving board. A lot of times that has to do with your soul age and how you are aging and maturing and going through the levels through life. Yes, we have met people. Yes, we have come through the purpose. Sometimes, my children have been with me on multiple occasions. I have one of my best friends. I know that she is family on the other side, as Richard is, and she has reincarnated as a friend and not blood. But I know, and she knows, that we are closer related. So it's kind of like, you sign these contracts before you come down, and a lot of them are contracts. Okay, so let's get into the guides, and then I'm going to explain the soul contracts and karmic cycles and twin flames and all that. Do you have to be
a guide?
Okay.
No. A lot of questions coming through.
No, you don't have to be a guide. So you can break your soul contract. And okay, let's get into soul contract. So a soul contract is something that you have written with the people that are going to be in your life. So you would sit down, you'd have a business meeting, executive meeting, and you'd sit down after you were in the classroom and you went through all the things that you're supposed to be learning in this incarnation. And basically you write the storybook of what's going to happen in this life. And where this person, it's almost like directing a movie, okay? Who's going to go in at this time? Who's going to come in at this time? When is this person going to be introduced? Is this person ready for it? This is an exit point at which somebody can die, and so on. So some marriages, some relationships, some business partners, some accidents, they're all predetermined depending on what learning lessons people have to learn. So put it into perspective. Somebody runs the stop sign. The person running the stop sign has to learn that they have to be more aware, consciously aware of their surroundings. The person getting hit also has to learn that, but maybe perhaps they have to learn forgiveness. Now, if there was a death that occurred during that life, and somebody may have to learn the forgiveness of that death or acceptance of that death. But along with all of that acceptance, it goes even further. So you have to think about how the economy works, that people are buying the tires for the ambulance, and the roads are being paved, and the paint for the roads is being made, and so on and so on and so on. All of those people cascading, even though it sounds so vast, they're all learning lessons throughout that process and teaching each other learning lessons. So as a guide, you can break that soul contract. Even as a human, you can break that soul contract where you're not meant to be with that person, or perhaps the contract ends during life. You don't have to come back as a guide, but it does help you on your journey.
All right, next question. They're just lined up here.
Wow.
Are past lives a reward for only the good, or for people who get to relearn things, or can evil be reincarnated?
Absolutely. There's always a yin to a yang. You know, energy is energy. It cannot be taken away. It can't be killed, but it's transferred. And so the same thing happens for good as it is in evil. So it's transposed into something different. It's changed. It's challenged. You cannot have light without the dark. You can't have the sun without a shadow. And so there's shadow realms, and there's all different levels. But basically, what happens is yes, that can. Now, lower vibrations tend to stay in this earth plane, so they don't go up to the other side. Obviously, you know, you need a pass to get through, right? So they're not going to allow that to go through. But absolutely, yes, you can kind of reincarnate into that purpose and meet the same people, but meet the same level of energy. You know, you walk into a room and you feel the energy, but you've never been in that place before. That may be because you're starting to pick up an awareness of a past life. It feels funny. So, for example, say you're petrified of flying airplanes, or you're petrified of water. A lot of times that leads to a past life, and that's because your soul is still recognizing that fear at that last moment in death. It's imprinted so deeply on the soul because of that fear that you're carrying it into the next life.
Wow. You ready for the next one?
I'm ready.
How can we tell if it's a past life experience or a lucid dream?
Oh, that's another great question, Al.
Good question.
So,
Al.
Lucid dreaming falls under the category of remote viewing and psychic premonition. So basically, you're awake when you're dreaming. You're having these visions. I would tend to think that the past life experience, again, it goes into the past. So if you're having these visions, or you're having these dreams, you're having these meditations, it's really important to start to pay attention of your surroundings. Okay, so I used to have a reoccurring dream, what I thought was a dream, and I was in period clothing until I had an actual past life regression with a professional hypnotist. And I realized it was a past life, and they were taking me back to France, and I could see everything. I could see, it was very vivid. So really, you got to break it down and kind of try and take more time to break it down, see what you're seeing.
Yep. Hey, Nikki, welcome back to the show. Nikki says, have you ever felt drawn to a particular environment, and when there you feel so at peace and energized, when you walk away from it too long you feel drained? Why could this be? Let me jump in on one ideal of this.
As many as you want, bro.
All right, so you have to understand that I think you're also mixing energy with what we're trying to gain here, because to me, it sounds like you're talking about a neutralizing environment or an energizing environment. There are environments, places that we can go to get re-energized. There are places that we can go to feel at peace and to feel harmony. And it's a higher vibrational level than what we're normally used to. So we feel good there. Mm-hmm. You get recharged and rejuvenated there. When you come away from it, you're drained without re-energizing. So that's kind of what happens. But I mean, hopefully that answers. You got anything you want to add to that at all, Katie? Because I just threw that out there.
Okay, so really, yes, it's exactly as Richard said. It's about grounding. Okay, now sometimes too much of a good thing is bad too, right? So do you remember there was an old tale about one of the Greek went too close to the sun and melted his wings. He wanted so badly to get up there and to be able to get close to the sun, but he really wasn't thinking clearly, and he ended up hurting himself. Sometimes too much of a good thing is bad too. So it's really important, balance. In my opinion, the essence of life for everybody is balance. There's no big holy grail. It's all, do you have one pizza or the whole box? Do you have one beer or the whole case? Do you spend too much? Do you save too much? Do you work too much? Are you at leisure too much? It's really about balance. And it goes down to even bigger? Is it, your spiritual consciousness, or is it your brain that's what's taking over? So really, it's all about the balance within.
All right. Then she asks, are there things that we can help to do to help open the memories of past lives?
Absolutely. Past life regressions are wonderful. Meditation and grounding is wonderful. Meditation is so good for so many things, but really the key is grounding and opening your consciousness. If you really want to start to, if you really want to open that door and really tap into past lives on your own, I encourage you to start to think about what events in your life that left you triggered. So think of, for example, something that makes you afraid. Okay, what makes you afraid? What are you deathly afraid of? And what is the reason for it? If you didn't experience it in this life and you have some unrealistic idea of what could potentially happen, but it's a major fear, really start to dive into that and look farther as to why you're feeling that emotion. Then try and meditate and try and open the door. Are you having dreams? Are you having reoccurring dreams? Are you getting triggered by locations that you're going to? Do you have affinity to certain things? The pyramids, or Machu Picchu, or certain cultures. That really kind of opens the door. And once you start getting comfortable with those things, don't be afraid to spend some time on the internet. Google images, see what you're used to, and go from there.
Right. And then Herbie says, I have a fear of sharks. Could my phobia be the cause of my past life, or being eaten by a shark, or being a shark?
So in my experience, I've never met somebody that was an animal. I have met spirits that have manipulated animals and sent them as messengers, but I've never experienced it where, like, in one life you're a cat, the next minute, next life you're a dog, I've never ever experienced that. So from being that, no, but it could go farther, that you weren't necessarily, let's put it in perspective. You were not attacked by a shark per se, but your ship sunk off the coast of the Caribbean, and your last moments of life is that you were stuck in the water and you were afraid you were never going to get rescued, and you were afraid you're going to get eaten by sharks, and you drowned.
Yeah.
So something like that, where that fear is so eminent, it's so ingrained, it's almost like an imprint into the walls as a residual energy happens. It's the same thing into your soul. It gets imprinted. And so that's the fear. That's why I ask you that when you start to notice these things and you're cognizant of the fact that you're having issues, fear of sharks, does it go deeper than what you've seen on television? Was it a movie that scared you? Was it, really, when you get into it, are you having recurring dreams about it? Are you smelling it? Are you, like, can you taste the salt water? Get to see how vivid it is, and you'll be able to tell.
All right, this is off topic, but I'll just bring it up real quick. From your perspective, what do you consider shadow people to be? Energy.
Yes.
Never human, but energy.
Yeah.
Very definitive energy, but energy. All right. So, okay, let's see here. Lord, we got a lot.
Yes, Icarius. Yes, you're right. That was the gentleman that went. I couldn't think of his name. Can you tell I'm tired? But he went too close to the sun. I could not get that out. So thank you.
Hey, Brendan. Okay, I love. Whoops. All right, let's. Sorry, Meg said, I love water, but I fear being in a body of water at night. That's interesting.
Okay, so there are healthy fears. There are healthy fears. How many people go to their basement stairs and run up really quick because they feel like something's standing at the bottom of the stairs watching them? There are healthy fears. Our brain does take over at times and say, don't do that, you could get hurt, or don't go there. It's the instinct of survival that takes over. So really, you got to kind of think long and hard whether it's actually a trigger of a past, or is it in fact a fear of what could be, or what could be happening. There's stories out there of people who have fallen into comas, or who have gone into traumatic areas, had accidents, knocked out of consciousness, near-death experiences, and when they come to consciousness, they have different accents. Or I met a girl a week and a half ago, who she had a severe car accident. She had brain damage, like she had head trauma. And when she came to out of her coma, she's a very talented artist. Never picked up a pencil
Wow.
before. Beautiful artist. There are so many people that part of that consciousness opens up. They're, amazing piano players, or can speak a different language, or have different accents. Wake up. If you don't believe me, take the time and Google it yourself. There's people who've been woken from surgeries or traumatic car accidents and stuff like that, comas, and they all of a sudden have a British accent. Where does that come from? Where do these talents come from? And really, it's because of past lives.
Yeah, guys, I got to tell you, we're really pulling up a lot of good questions. If you haven't, just now's the time, because I will tell you, this topic is probably not being discussed anywhere else. Number one. Number two, we don't bring it through a whole lot, because I definitely don't look good on on camera being Vanna White, and
So funny.
that's not my role. But it's just something I'd like to learn about. It's kind of like when we had Greg on here, the Crystal Guru, as I call him. I literally sat back in awe, just listening to the man, just getting his insight, getting his tips and everything else, and I'm sitting going, wow, had no idea. I will tell you though, from you and from him, I went ahead and ordered a talisman necklace that is 2 levels. First level is selenite. Second level is black tourmaline.
Okay, fantastic.
And I can't wait to get it on and get to wearing it. But yeah, it's the same thing with this. I didn't know anything really a lot about it, but it does blend into certain areas that I'm very comfortable with. But then in other areas, I'm like, oh. So I don't want to sound like a blithering idiot, nor do I want to be absolutely silent, because again, I'm not pretty without noise. But it's just, for me, this is a very big learning opportunity. And guys, again, I hope, we hope you're getting something out of it. It's just, we want to educate you. That's what the reason for the show is about, is to help educate and network with each other about things, and hopefully people get stuff out of it. And I know I'm getting a lot out of it tonight. I had no idea about 3/4 of the stuff you talked about. So congratulations. You've done a great job. Ron, It's not an issue to get off topic at all. Not a problem. That's why I put it up, because we'll throw one of those in here and out of here, because we've had just a lot of questions about the subject matter. So I try to get those in first, and then get them, handled, so that way we can go ahead and move to some things like shadow people. I would love to actually want to doing a show one day just on shadow people. Just shadow people. Yeah, I think that'd be cool, because I think with what we know about shadow people, probably would fill a thimble.
Yep, agreed.
I really do. All right, so let's get back to it. So Ron, don't sweat it. No big deal, man. Ask whatever you want to ask. Okay. Hello, everyone. I'd love to have my mind read. No, don't read mine. It gets scary. All right. So Al said, so when I hear a little voice in the back of my head warning me that is my guide, or is it just my survival instincts?
Okay, so your survival instincts are more so the fear-based responses. Don't go there, you could get hurt. Don't, that's bad. Or your brain, really what it tries to do is it short circuits, and it tries to come up with a logical explanation every single time. So, I knew I shouldn't have gone there. I told you shouldn't have done that type of a thing. Your guides and your gut feeling, your intuition is something different, where it's a pulling, drawing feeling. It's almost like a magnetism. It's that extrasensory perception where you feel, maybe I should take a different route. Something told me to take a different route today, or something told me, it's not a fear-based response. It usually comes out of nowhere. And that's when you can tell. Now, your guides can only guide you on your path. They can't manipulate you. So we have what's called free will. And the higher power gave it to us for us to make decisions and to try and learn through these learning lessons. And so our guides try to put things into their path. So, for example, as a psychic medium, okay, I'm nothing special. I don't have an in with God. I don't have anything special. I simply can tap into the timelines. I can tap into outcomes, and I can tap into guides and angels. So really what happens is I always tell my clients, I have a motto: if I'm not supposed to know, neither are you. And if I'm supposed to know, so are you. In other words, why would I be given the information if I wasn't supposed to relay it to you? I'm simply the messenger. And it's because they want me to tell you. It's not because they don't.
No problem.
Now, as an example, I warned somebody about a motorcycle a few years ago. I said, please sell the motorcycle. It's not good for you. I see a bad accident. It's not going to be good. And the gentleman didn't, and he was killed. I live with that guilt every day. But at the same time, I did my due diligence. I did everything I could in my power to try and help that gentleman. The universe wanted a higher learning lesson through that. And even though I warned that gentleman, the learning lesson is for me as well, is to overcome and to accept his death and understand that it wasn't something I could prevent. So that was the learning lesson for me. But there's also the learning lesson for the rest of his family too. So the greater good was of that death. And everything happens for the greater good. It sucks. It doesn't make sense. It's morbid. We lose children. We lose animals. We lose best friends. We lose parents. But ultimately, it's always for the greater good. Even if it's somebody who's been murdered or taken too long, okay, or too short. It's because it's for that greater good. And it's hard to kind of grasp, but unfortunately, that's the way it is.
Yeah. I think that's one thing that people have as a misconception. Myself also being a psychic medium, when I've read people, as I'm sure, as I know you've read people, it's their thought is that it's going to happen immediately. Nope. No. It could be 2 weeks from now. It could be 2 months from now. It just depends on its own. I mean, there is no timeline on the other side. There is just, it happens when it happens. I've had the same thing happen. I've had a girl, lost a baby, came to me for a reading. I told her she was going to get pregnant again. Why and when, and I finally gave a date that I got, and it was accurate within a day or so, or a day now. But the thing is, you don't know. You never know. The message, and the other thing too, just kind of want to jump on that topic of psychic mediums and stuff and how we operate. But again, just another thing. If you come up to us in the crowd and you go, read me. No, that's most likely not going to happen. Because if I have something for you, as I'm sure Katie can back me up, if I have something for you, I will seek you out. Yeah. Or it will help me seek you out. So that's just kind of an aside. A lot of people just don't understand about psychic mediums. It doesn't happen quite the way you think it does.
And here's another really cool thing that people don't realize is, I'll give you an example. I was doing a group session this weekend, and there's a group of wonderful ladies. They're all sitting around. We're all chatting. Well, didn't the neighborhood want to come around? Didn't the people who, the spirits that lived in the house, that it was haunted, didn't they want to speak, or they wanted to make their presence known, or they wouldn't? What people don't realize is that we're getting interference on both sides. So you as a person have the questions, and we're in the physical realm, but we're also getting kind of chatter on the other side, where sometimes the person's not even for you. The person, because they see you, because you're that beacon in a dark room, they're very excited and they want messages for their loved ones, and it's not even any relation to you, the person getting read. So it's kind of, people don't see it from that perspective, but sometimes it's tough.
Yeah. All right, hopping back on the topic of discussion here. Ed said, can someone repeat the exact same light?
Yes and no. They can repeat the same learning lessons, but a time dimensional shift does not happen on the other side. Again, as Richard mentioned, there's no such thing as time. It's actually, the clock was invented in Islam, actually. No, there's no, to answer your question, no, there's no time on the other side, but we do dimensional shifts and timeline shifts. So I tell people that, your life is not necessarily word for word written in a book as this is going to happen, this is going to happen, this is going to happen. It's more like milestones. And I've mentioned it before, where think of children and think of them as, your children are growing up, and at 5 years old, if they're not talking and they're not walking, that they haven't met the milestones they're meant to meet by that age. Something's wrong, something's not right, or something's off. The same thing happens with life. We have milestones in which we're supposed to meet. That doesn't mean it's like, and then I went here and it was written at this time at this place. everything happens for a reason, but at any given time, a guide can throw something in, or, the higher power a learning lesson can arise, because even though you're in this life, on the other side, there's people coming in that are being written into your story too. It just the story hasn't been fully written yet. Okay. So think of it more like, a television series. A lot of these writers, there's no ending. They don't start the television series with an ending in mind. They get different writers and create different content, and it kind of comes in at that moment. So, it's yes, to answer your question, you can live the same life lessons, but the same life, no. It's not like a Groundhog Day. Going back to talking about timeline shifts, we do have parallel dimensions where there are different versions of ourselves. Okay, and I know it's a hard kind of thing to grasp, but again, it's all around that.
Two of me is scary.
It is scary. It is scary. Yeah, it is. I'll give you an example. Friends of mine, we were going to, my best friend and I were going to go and ride. As you all know, we have horses and we ride. So her partner was going to come over, and they were all, my partner was they were all going to hang out while we had gone to the barn, and we had this great big discussion about it. And we talked about the next day that, she was going to drop him off, and her husband was going to stay at the house while we went riding. So the next morning arose, and she pulled up into the driveway, and I was going to get into the car with her, and I looked out the window, and she was sitting by herself. And I thought, that's kind of weird. And so I kind of motioned her to come in the house. And so she came into the house, and I just said, hey, how are you? And she said, good. I said, where's your husband? And she said, what are you talking about? And I said, we had a great big discussion yesterday about, he was going to come over, and the boys were going to hang out. We were going to go to the barn, and we were going to do our thing. And she was like, I don't know what you're talking about. I said, what do you mean? Like, I was actually baffled. This girl's got a memory like on her, like you wouldn't believe. I knew she couldn't forget. So I actually went and got my husband and said, do you remember this conversation? Like, was I dreaming? Did this happen? He says, no, yeah, he was supposed to come over, and he was going to stick around while you went to the barn. They had no idea what I was talking about. Even her husband had no idea. And I think that as humans, we forget that consciousness. We argue a lot. You said you were going to do this and you didn't, or we were going to go here, or that was going to happen and it didn't. And I genuinely think that we fight back and forth or have these discrepancies, and there's more to it. And I think those are dimensional timeline shifts. She truly didn't understand what I was talking about. Another really quick example is, you place something down and you swear you put it there, and it's not there. It disappeared for 3 weeks, and all of a sudden it appears somewhere else in the house. Or it appears, something that you swear you never saw before appears. That's a dimensional shift. That's a timeline shift.
Wow. Very cool. Yeah, we got a few more questions coming in here. So Herbie says, can we see objects that can cause us to remember a past life? My wife saw a painting and believes that she used to live in Old Italy.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Yep.
Man, Adam says, hypnosis, can't that be used to see your past lives?
Yes, sir. There's a really great hypnotherapist in Southern Ontario that I've used a couple times, and I enjoyed it. Some people have you have to remember, when you're doing those things, you have to be open to it, number one. And number two, sometimes there's past traumas in your current life that can cause the restrictions to close the door so that you're not able to open. Now, I went into at least 15 to 17 lives when I did my hypnotherapy, and the past life regressions. And the therapist was shocked. He couldn't believe how I could pick up so many. He said, you're very open. What do you do for a living? And that's when I disclosed to him, well, it's what I do. I'm open to that. I can open my consciousness. And he went, I get it now. Whereas other people have only done it once or twice, or don't know how to open their consciousness and have a harder time getting through.
Another off-topic question about shadow people. So we're going to have to want to do a show about shadow people.
Yeah.
And Tara asks, does anyone see shadows out of the corner of their eye and it disappears when you look? I thought it was nothing, but someone else told me that happens to them. So I'm curious. Yes. I'll actually answer this one. Oh my God. I get to answer a question. So, here's the thing. Contrary to popular belief, a lot of spirits don't want to be seen. They really don't. Shadow people are phenomenal at it. I've seen shadow people appear out of corners. lightly appear in doorways and disappear. And it's just almost like they don't want to be seen. Your mind also has a lot to do with it. Okay. You see something out of your corner eye, out of your peripheral vision, and you turn your head, you may or may not see something. But if your mind has an opportunity, it's going to find an answer for what it just saw. So you may either wind up dismissing it, or again, you'll have that peripheral vision once again. But it's really just that happens to a lot of people. You'll see it you'll hear that. If you watch the ghost hunting shows, you'll hear it a lot. I just saw that out of the corner of my eye. Yeah. People go, well, why do they hide in attics? They don't really want to be seen. They don't want to be picked up on. Base rings do the same thing. They don't want to be picked up on. A lot of them don't. I've had a lot of them tell me just to leave them alone. They don't want to be engaged. But that's what's happening. You're seeing it in your peripheral vision, but it's going on. It's going on. But when you turn your main focus to what you think you saw, your mind will make that split-second decision. What did you just see? And that's something you got to understand. Because some people's minds, because the mind is the most powerful machine, ally, and or enemy you're ever going to have. So if your mind thinks you're not ready for that, you're not going to see that. No. So, I mean, that's just something to think about too, Tara. All right. So Ron asked if we could do a show someday on the Hat Man. There's a lot of ancillary, there's a lot of facets to the paranormal. Okay. And we had tried our best in the last going on 3 years now to cover them all. Because I will tell you, Katie and I have had discussions about what in God's name have we not covered yet. Because we feel we have covered everything. And it's one of those things where we need to find something, even if we have to dredge up something we've talked about before, to continue delivering the education we think we're delivering to you all. So, again, we've asked you many times, people, for subject matter. And we're gonna look at that. We're gonna look at. I think we'll do a show sometime. Hat Man, Slender Man, the Bloody Mary. There's a lot of those things that people are either seeing or heard of or done themselves. Same. That we're going to have to talk to in a show and put together for an hour and a half to do that. So yes, at some point, Ron, stick with us. We will find a way to cover it. Hey, Nikki, how's it going? All right, so Nadine said, is it possible that a parent could be reincarnated as one of their grandchildren?
Absolutely. You can be reincarnated into any person. You can be reincarnated. Sometimes okay, so let's break it down. Yes, to answer your question, absolutely you can. The average reincarnation period from death to rebirth is approximately 70 human linear years. Again, there's no time on the other side, but it's usually 70 years. Rarely does it happen where a grandparent will die and then a baby's born a couple days later and it's the baby, or a sister will die, or a sibling, something like that. A loved one will die and it's reincarnated right away, because it takes time, pardon the pun on the other side, to process this. There's usually a few weeks, sometimes it's a couple weeks, sometimes it's 7 or 8 weeks that occurs for the reorientation process on the other side once somebody has crossed over. So there is a time frame that kind of happens on this side. Again, it's seconds on the other side, milliseconds, but it's like a lifetime for us. Going back into that reincarnation, it does happen. Sometimes there's a predetermined, destination to go back. But there's also different types of contracts. So there are soul contracts, as I touched base on a little bit earlier, where you're written in with each other, kind of like you're designing a television series for at this time, this is going to come in and this is going to happen and that's going to happen. But also we sit down and we have a karmic contract that we have to fix the karma from the past lives. So for example, I said sometimes, we've been murdered or we have murdered. We have to fix that karma. It gets even deeper with twin flames and soul mates, and it gets down to divine partnerships and friendships and soul families. And so we all kind of, plan this dissension around each other. Sometimes you're your biggest enemy, and sometimes you're your biggest fan. So, I could reincarnate as my son's brother next life. It doesn't mean I'm always going to be his mom. We've all been men and women in different aspects of life, but we're still learning, the same lessons and even more in the next life. That answers the question.
Yep. And Melissa said, "Can you have past lives read?"
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I know somebody who does that.
So I actually pick up on past lives when I do readings for people. And usually the past lives that I pick up are the ones that you need to currently deal with in this life. Okay, so there's problems that didn't arise or didn't get fixed, resolved, I should say, that are currently causing you issues in this life, and you just don't realize it, and that's why those past lives are coming through.
Now, Herbie makes more of a statement. He said, "Katie, sometimes life and death is predestined. Some people do what they are destined to do."
Absolutely. And as I said before, yes, pretty much everything is predestined in the sense that there's milestones. We have multiple exit points in life. People have near-death experiences all the time. That doesn't mean they were supposed to die. Sometimes that's a wake-up call. Sometimes that overdose or that, fender bender or that, how did you even survive that type of incident is actually a wake-up call. It's meant to shake you up, to change your foundation, or rattle your foundation, and make you become a better person. So it's not necessarily about the death, but it's about the rebirth.
So Tara, yeah, I would not say it's anything to worry about, but the one thing you'll understand and recognize too, the more you spend around the paranormal, the more sensitive you become to it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not saying for sure that anything that you experience or see out of the corner of your eyes is not bad. I'm just saying that's the reason why you see it. You would know if you get uncomfortable in a room. I know we're off topic, but I just like to make sure everyone's comfortable that asks questions like this. So if you go into a room that you had those experiences with and you're uncomfortable, there's a reason for that. There's always a reason why you feel what you feel. If you go into a room and you feel uneasy, like you don't need to be there, get the hell out of that room. Then you don't need to be there. Your body is the best telltale of anything that you do.
And Richard, we should reiterate too, that's not going to work on a Monday morning because we all don't want to be there.
Yeah, no. But yeah, no, I wouldn't say it's good nor bad, but that is the reason why it happens, and it'll happen more and more often. It's kind of one of those things, the more you recognize it, the more it becomes obvious. Mm-hmm. And that means, honestly, too, the more your mind is accepting it. Because we don't get the whole understanding of disbelief until we become, accountable adults. That's why children are more sensitive to it, because they don't have a disbelief system.
Yeah.
They see stuff, talk to stuff all the time. The proverbial invisible friend probably isn't invisible to them. So, but yeah, I mean, that's the reason why you're seeing the things that are corner your eye. Mm-hmm. So Herbie says, can a recurring dream be a memory to a past life?
Absolutely. It can also be a premonition. Again, really, it's not about the dream. It's about what you're wearing, where you're at, what you're trying to learn, what you're trying to accomplish during that dream.
And he says, how many past lives can we live?
Oh, as many as it takes. I know that sounds like a roundabout answer, but really it comes down to how well you're learning, how well you're accepting your gifts. Are you awake or are you sleeping? There are people that are non-believers, and I'm not here to prove to you. I'm not here to try and convince you, but I have a hard time when people tell me that they don't know paranormal, they've never had an experience, because we've all had them, we just don't know we're aware of them. So when I bring it into their consciousness and make them realize that some of the experiences they've had in life is actually paranormal, then they become believers, then they start to open their consciousness, and that's when they realize, right? So it's conscious awareness.
Hey, Jerry, good to have you and the team on watching the show. We appreciate it. All right, so Big Al comes out with another one. He says, so is it a guardian angel that puts the warning thoughts in your brain?
Okay, so we talked about angels, we talked about guides. So think of your guides as babysitters. Okay, they babysit. Babysitters are there for a short time, a lifespan. You know, they're there to assist us on their path, but they're not the parents. They can't make the parental decisions. So I'll tell you a fast story. So there was an accident that occurred in Ontario on a major highway here, and it was major lane traffic, and there was multiple fatalities and multiple cars in carnage. The fire department had shown up, and the police department, trying to save these people. And one of the cars that was absolutely mangled to death showed a baby on board sticker. And so one of the fire department's firefighters went to the car and was like, oh God, this is going to be horrific. Nobody wants to see a baby, right? Nobody wants that. And when he got to the car, the pod was not in the seat. And so he kind of went, whew, maybe he wasn't. But there were people screaming that there was a baby, there's a baby, there's a baby. Well, just then, he heard a baby crying. And across the highway, into a drainage ditch where the cement had come down, there was a baby outside of the pod, outside of the seatbelt pod, laying there with not a stitch on it. There was not a bruise, not a mark, not a hair out of place. It was gone, but it was okay. Tell me how that is humanly, logically possible. It is not. That is when an angel is able to create a miracle, and they do every day. We get people who are healed from illness and from accidents and near-death experiences and bad marriages and bad decisions. They do perform that. So when that occurs, something like that occurs, that's when the guide goes back to the angel and goes, sir, we need you to perform a miracle here. We need help here because this is going to occur. And that's how these things occur. Now, don't forget, there's a learning lesson in that. One of the biggest learning lessons is faith. If you had nothing to prove without faith, right, to see that logical answer, you would not know that paranormal exists. And so that is added to the belief system of faith that you're supposed to be accepting.
Right. I had a kind of an example like that. I had a very serious car accident with an 18-wheeler. Tried its best to push the engine of my truck through my bed of my truck through me. So bad was the accident that the engine was actually engine was in the cab. The airbag deployed, of course. The front end of the truck got concaved in because it hit the bar that they have on the back of the trucks to keep you from going under the bar. The engine was on fire, and I literally had to break out the driver's side glass to get out of the car. I got out of the car harmless. The state trooper rolled over to me and he says, where's the driver of the vehicle? Well, I'm the driver of the vehicle. What? Yeah. You should have been dead. I guess it wasn't my time. I mean, that kind of stuff happens a lot. People miraculously survive things or are protected by things because of things like harbinger angels and because of, even guides. Like Katie has mentioned a million times, there's a reason why you might have been delayed going somewhere. There's a reason for all of that. But if it's not your time, it's not your time. I look back at that truck and go, my God. What? Because I'm 6'4". I'm a tree. I'm a tree.
You're a solid oak.
Yeah, and I don't know how I survived that. I have no idea.
Because you're supposed to be alive to do this show.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, just to do this show right here. Yeah. But guys, I'm really appreciative of all the questions and everything, and we hope you're getting the answers that you want or answers you might need, because that's really what this is about. Okay, so Mario said, good to see you, Mario. He said, so what do you think happened there, Katie, with the baby? Was that ported by the angelic being?
Yes. So basically a miracle was performed. That something that shouldn't have happened, or I shouldn't say shouldn't have happened, but wasn't logically possible, happened, and that kept it alive. Number one, it kept the baby alive. Number two, it created savior grace for the heroes trying to save these people. And number three, it created faith.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, the higher power throws something in, to keep us believing.
Enough to make you believe. Sometimes when you're not ready to believe. And we're going to have another discussion too at some point about other things like near-death experiences, because I died on the operating table 7 years ago.
Okay, I got a question for you. I got a question. What life are you working on?
Okay, go ahead. What?
What life are you working on now, there, bud?
As a cat, I've had to borrow several at this point. No, I died on the operating table. I could literally see I was above myself. I can hear every single conversation point through the doctors and nurses. And I was out. And I felt myself being pulled up and then hovered for a moment and then right back into my body. And when I got out, I freaked the doctors out because I'm like, man, your golf game sucks. What? I went through and I relayed everything I heard, and they just were in absolute disbelief. So somewhere we're going to have to touch on near-death experiences and things like that too. But maybe we do have some new material to talk about. Thank you, Mario. I appreciate that. Let me see here.
Hi, guys.
What is a yawn? Is a yawning in podcasting?
A long day.
Yawning in podcasting. Irby said that reminds me of this car that drove off a bridge, and 5 policemen heard a woman who said, "Save my baby." But when they went to the car, the mother was dead, but the baby was alive, strapped to the car seat. Oof.
Yes, and you know what? I saw that, and if I remember correctly, please forgive me if I'm forgetting, but I am pretty sure that was caught on video as well. The troopers on their cam or something, you could actually hear the woman screaming, and the woman had been dead, like she was cold and dead, like she wasn't, like she'd been gone for quite some time.
Yeah, it's just when I've been in this industry 26 years, going on 27. I know you've been in it a long time too. You're just a lot younger than I am. Not
that younger, but yes, I'm 29.
Trust me, sweetheart, I'm going on 60. Okay. But I think there's so much we still have got to learn that there's never enough time. There never will be. And like this subject, I've listened to you talk and I'm like, wow, that's crazy. That's crazy. Because my mind has been so filled for all those years in other paranormal facets. This hasn't even crossed my brain. Now it's crossed my brain. I'm like, what? Yeah, another topic I got to dive into and read about. That's great. Yeah, Charles Rudd said we need to do a near-death experience show.
I just got a message from somebody saying that they can't comment on the show. I've had a couple comments like that. I don't know why, because nothing has been made so you can't comment. So I don't know why.
I have to wonder how they came in. If they came in through my broadcast, nobody's had a problem here so far. Yeah. We've had a lot of comments. Yeah. Al says the show goes by so fast. He's really the best. Thank you, Al. Appreciate it. Okay, so Brandon said, I came across what I believed were a couple of angels at different times last year. One randomly showed up at 2 a.m. when my transmission crapped out on the highway.
Ooh, that sounds like a wicked story. I would like to hear more about that. Now you're leaving us in suspense. What happened?
Vendors.
Like, what happened? So how did they show up? I want to know.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those things that's really odd. You guys, if you sit back and you think about what you consider wow, I can't believe that actually happened and it saved me. There's a lot of reasons behind that. A lot of reasons behind that. The paranormal to me is so fascinating, and it's not just the regular, there's an entity over there. There's a lot more behind it. We don't understand what happens after death enough. We don't get it. We don't really have enough to go on. And I want to learn more, so I'm going to shut up and let my partner.
I'm with you.
Okay, so Mario said I had that commenting issue when I was logged in as my page and not my personal account. Perhaps that's the issue. Could be.
Maybe.
Greg, if you're coming through on a business or a fan type page or public figure type page, I've heard that you can. A guy that I have talked to a few times about coming on a show, Steve Shippey, went in to come in to watch one of our shows live through his public page and public figure page, and he couldn't. So, it's just kind of one of those things that may be the reason why they're not either. I don't know.
Weird.
Yeah, Ellen says, I'm having problems hearing you over my husband's snoring, but I don't think there's any technical help for that. No. Right, good to see you, buddy. Tina Marie.
I wish we could help you. I wish we could. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know how you can help that.
I don't know. A pillow? No, I'm just kidding.
I was going to say go to a different room, but okay.
Her husband's a really great guy. I know him. Don't take that personally, guys. Ellen knows that joke. Kick him. Kick Terry. Say, hey, wake up. I'm watching the show. Leave me alone. You never know. That might help. Who knows? Okay, so Nanine said, Katie, do you believe that some spirits that are earthbound and haven't crossed over have decided not to because they choose not to reincarnate?
Yes. You don't have to reincarnate. You don't have to, but you're not elevating yourself. You're not becoming, getting that wisdom and knowledge for the universal consciousness. So you can't add to the universal consciousness. Remember, everything's for the greater good to heighten that vibration. What people don't realize is we're going through a spiritual warfare right now. And I know I sound like I'm wearing a tinfoil hat, but there is a battle between good and evil. It's been going on for eons, and it's going on, especially the big battles are happening now, where you're going to notice a lot of people are suffering from depression and anxiety, and they're tapping into that lower vibrational energy. The higher vibration is trying to fight that, right? There's a constant kind of reverse polarity where they're kind of pulling away from each other and or fighting each other. And so what's happening is what energy vibration are you going to get onto? And so this is where you're going to find people are addicted to being angry, addicted to being anxious, addicted to being depressed, all of those things, because they're stuck in that lower vibration. Okay, and that's how evil works. Evil wants to take your free will. Evil wants to take your happiness. Evil wants to take so many things from you and suppress you, oppress you. Ultimately, take your life, take your soul. So it's really important that you're trying to heighten that vibration. You're trying to, to reincarnate and add to the wellness of the greater good. But it's your choice. You can break a contract. You don't have to come back.
Also, too, my belief, it's just my belief, there are a lot of things that some spirits don't want to face the process of death.
Mm-hmm.
There is a process to death. People have to understand that. It's not a matter, and I catch heat on this because the religious sect in this area kind of believes that when you die, you go to heaven and hell immediately. Heaven and hell isn't even ready for you yet. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, that's something that we have to understand. There is a process. There's an atoning, those kind of things that you have to go through. And if you're a jerk in real life, you're a super jerk in death, because now you can screw with people and intimidate people and scare people, and that makes me feel better. You're going to have to atone for the crap you committed in your life. I'm not getting religious, just telling you what I know. Okay, so there are a lot of spirits that I've encountered that are not really dark. They're mischievous. They're tormentors. Malevolent. They don't want to face that.
Yeah.
Because once you begin that process, before you can ever be considered, in my eyes, to be eligible to be a guide, sorry about that, guys. Lost power to my laptop. Before that happens, your spirit, that part of your soul has to be right. Has to be in line.
Yep.
Okay? You can't have negative, crappy life, and I'm just going to bring it up. Commit suicide, for example. You can't go through and commit suicide and expect you're going to be a god for somebody. Nope. That process is a lot harder than you think. And that process is a lot longer to complete on our side of time, because again, time has no bearing on the other
Right.
side at all. But I mean, just I know I'm trying to go off to the left here and the right, but it's
You're
just one
absolutely
of those things that you have to understand there's a process. And I've had a lot of arguments with people. I went to a dinner with a whole bunch of friends, and one person was extraordinarily religious, and to a point that they wanted to hit me over the head with the Bible without realizing that I knew it as well as they did. But that's okay. But it's just got to a point where I explained that somebody, her father, for example, was at her house. He's going through his process. What? His process. That created an
process.
argument.
Or if you're in Canada, it's process, but that's okay.
Process. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that's just kind of a thing we have to look at. And we'll go back to the questions, and we got a few. Okay. Herbie said, but do we choose, or does God choose for us? Like we have more to learn or do in order to receive eternal reward?
A little bit of both. Our higher level of consciousness, okay, our higher level of consciousness is a lot smarter than our brains, right? It's smarter than our human form. So it does guide us on a lot of things. Not only are our guides giving us gut feelings, but so are our higher level consciousness. So yes, it works in tune, but it's like a radio wave. It's a vibration. So think of it like a vibration that you're trying to tap into. Okay.
Right.
Think of music. When you hear a sad song, it makes you feel sad. When you feel a happy song, it makes you feel happy. An upbeat song versus a slow song versus happy versus sad. It's an energy vibration that you're tapping into.
All right. And then Herbie says, can we also live in an alternate dimension as a past life, such as an alternate timeline?
Yes, but here's the cool thing. So we talked about, past lives, reincarnation, coming back into this world. But is it this world? Is it this time? When you die and you go over to the other side, if I died now, that doesn't mean I'm going to come back, in 70 years from now in that timeline to live the next life. I could go back to 1500. I could go back to 800 BC. Time is what we create on this earth plane to help us with the learning lessons that we're achieving. Okay. Let's put things into perspective. Perspective is a different meaning on the other side. So again, where do you think the great ideas come from? Where do you think the prophecies come from? Where do you think a lot of that is people tapping into timelines and being able to see the futuristic events?
Yeah, we're going to get a little on the religion side here. Free will and the golden rule are the X factor, in my opinion. We're free to worship the Creator. We're free to ignore the Creator. However, whatever we project, we will receive. Just my take on it. All right, so
I agree.
There's a lot behind it, and I'm not going to get preachy. I promise I won't get preachy. I was a minister for 8 years, but I'm not going to get preachy. If you think you're going to succeed in God's favor by performing good deeds, you're not. You're supposed to do it all the time anyway. If you think you're going to succeed by worshiping Him and not following His word, if you're a Christian, you're not going to. There's a lot of variables that go into this thing, but at the end of the day, if your spirit is not right, and I'm not talking about being right with Jesus. I'm not talking about that. What I'm talking about is if you're not in the right place, if your life ended because of a very negative thing, if your life ended for, let's say, because of drugs, you overdosed and you died, okay, you're not going to be prepared to do anything in the other life except for get yourself atoned and healed as a spirit and get yourself set to be able to move on. Again, it's a process. So we have to look at all of that in consideration. So, okay. All right. So Charles asked, what do we think about the seven levels of heaven? I think that might be a little bit over the head of some.
So explain that. Then this is great. Explain it from a biblical sense.
Honestly, I don't have a biblical stance on the 7 levels of heaven. I believe you do what you need to do, and according to the Bible, you believe and are baptized in the name of Jesus Christ. You atone for your sins, and you move through it. Nobody has proven the 7 levels of heaven to me. Nobody's proven it to me. So I have a hard time believing in that writing, but everybody's entitled to how they feel. I'm a big believer in revelations. There'll be a time when, people are cast into the lake of fire and people are given the golden road to home. Katie mentioned it, there's a lot of battles right now going on that are, end of days kind of stuff to a point. But we have to take a biggest atonement of what we do personally. 7 levels of heaven. Heaven is, it's going to be designed and made for us. He's going to come home with a trumpet of God. He's going to take those who are asleep in Christ first to heaven. So how do we know the 7 levels of heaven if we haven't been there? And again, it's just, like anything else, like any book, the Bible has the thought that you have to have blind faith in it, that it's the truth. Yeah. I'm a big believer. I'm in the United States. I would be from a state called Missouri. Show me. I want to have something to believe in. I believe in the upper levels of God's power and everything else. I believe in all of that. There is some things based on a belief system that I don't agree with or I don't see. Again, I'm a big show me guy. I just, not downing it, not tossing it aside, just saying. To me, the plan is a lot simpler than people make it. That's just my eyes. Herbie says, can we do a show on alternate dimensions and supernatural realities? Isn't that every day?
Story of my life.
Herbie, I think it's every day, buddy. I'm not sure. No, it's, the whole religious aspect of this, I try to get into very infrequently, because if you look at the fact that there's 236 different sects of religion, 236 different ways to believe. My goodness, can we just get on one post and move on? But we can't. So everyone's going to have, there's purgatory, and then there's people that don't believe in purgatory, and then there's, so you go through all of that belief system stuff, and you have to really sift through it to find the truth. I highly recommend people sift through it to find the truth, personally. Brandon says, the Bible can be a tricky topic between the various translations, editions, and books omitted. Yes, I think we're getting a faction of what the Bible is trying to tell us. Yes, and then again, you also have to believe the entire story. The Bible went from a book of Greek and then translated into English for our benefit. We omitted and lost a lot of stuff. The puzzle pieces still fit. So that's kind of what you got to look at. And I'm done. I'm done with the religious topic. I didn't want to end the show on that at all, because it steps away from what we're talking about. Because if you look at the Bible, it's, they don't talk about past lives. They don't talk about any of that. And that's what the show topic was for. So, and we've already cut through an hour and 15 minutes of time.
I know, it's crazy. You know what, to kind of touch base back onto past lives and stuff, people had asked, can you reincarnate into family and grandmothers and aunts and uncles? We migrate as people. We have huge soul families soul towns that we reincarnate with. So it's not just your immediate family, it's bigger perspective. And that's where the 6 to 7 degrees of separation come in, where in any 6 degrees, you're going to know somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody around the world. We do reincarnate in that purpose. We come together in a greater cause. So sometimes during an incarnation, a new member will come into your soul family. So somebody who you've never reincarnated or never, had past lives with have come in. But for the most part, a lot of the people that are very important to us in our lives are people that are important to us on the other side too.
Yeah. And it's, you know, it's a really amazing thing if you've ever seen someone, ever had the experience of seeing someone pass away. And they have the right soul tie connections and everything else. Watching them be escorted essentially by beings who have that job. Okay, that's just one tiny little facet of it all. Past lives. It's an amazing, amazing process that I know a lot more than I did before the show, but still, we don't know enough. We don't really know enough, I don't think. I could be wrong, but you never know.
No, it's important to learn, to keep learning.
Yeah, Herbie says, and I think he's asking for the right reason. Can couples reincarnated to marry again?
Yes. There's soulmates, there's twin flames, there's divine partnerships. Now, remember, not all twin flames are the cliche twin flames that you Google on the internet. Twin flames are essentially two souls split into, or one soul split into two, and you find yourself together again. There are soulmates where soulmates do not, it can be platonic. It does not have to be, a marriage. But they come together. There's divine partnerships where you're so interconnected on the other side that you can't help but be attracted to the person you are on this side. And so there's a lot of different relationships that way. But yes, people have reincarnated as husbands and wives and, parents and aunts and uncles and sisters and brothers, the whole 9 yards.
All right. Nadine asked one more religious question. Is there a purgatory? I just got done, my team day getting filmed in a documentary called Finding Purgatory. It was done by an old Catholic Church bishop who brought us in to investigate on camera and everything else. I'm not sure if he found purgatory by utilizing us. I know he had proverbial, forgive my language, shit scared out of him on 2 occasions with us, but that happens. We had one partial possession with my soon-to-be wife, Lori. She was partially possessed. I had to perform an exorcism on her. And then at another occasion, we had a team member jumped.
Yeah.
So does that prove purgatory? I think purgatory is kind of a final note on that. Purgatory is kind of a waiting place, so an assignment place where you come to atone.
Exactly.
But the thing you have to understand, that's also utilized in certain religions, and other religions don't believe in it. So it's really a religious-based item. So, all right. Let me see here. Alfred said, "My mother passing away was an amazing experience."
I'm glad you got to see it. I'm sorry that you had to lose her, but it's wonderful that she was not alone. She had you when she died. Now, nobody dies alone. There's always somebody that comes for you, but it's wonderful that you were able to be there with her, accompany her through that process.
Yeah, I mean, watching someone who's prepared, and I think honestly, the person who is more prepared for their inevitable death have a lot easier to transition. That's just my belief.
Yeah.
Cancer patients, again, they understand the inevitable. Their mind gets right with the ideal that it's going to happen, even if they are scared to tears about it. Their mind gets right with the ideal it's going to happen. Usually days before the actual passing, they have contacts with family members that are on the other side. It begins then. And that's really all designed to make them feel better about the transition. That is the reason why people or a person is assigned to bring you over and bring you over to the other side to make you feel better about it, to let you know you're not alone.
Yeah.
You
talk about that a little bit and how the process and wanting to go through and wanting to do all these things in the religious aspect, but another thing that people have a hard time crossing over are people who are the most religious, because they have been raised to believe that it's a specific way. If you sin, you're going to hell. If you do this or you do that, and it's fear that actually keeps them from transitioning over, because they're so afraid of that judgment, of that purgatory.
Oh yeah. I mean, there's a lot of things that, again, I was the guy in a pulpit at one time myself, and I never did anything hellfire and brimstone. I didn't
Yeah.
think it was necessary.
Yeah.
But depending upon where you go, that may be the case. So you got
I've,
to be careful of
I've,
everything.
yeah. I've been asked multiple times actually to become a death doula. And for those of you that don't know, a death doula is somebody who takes somebody through the process of death.
Yeah.
They try to explain how, what's going to happen after and what the family will grieve and what's going to happen, kind of the physical aspects of death. But quite often I will get a phone call from a family member who there's somebody who's, in hospice or preparing to transition, and they'll ask me and I'll take them through the journey of what's going to happen and not to be afraid and all of that stuff. And I have had the pleasure and the honor of seeing these people after death and after they've transitioned to come back and let me know that they're okay. So it's really neat.
Herbie says, is this why some people can do math without studying or cook without learning? Are the feats caused by the past lives? Unlearned skills?
I clearly was not a mathematician in my past life. I'll put it that way. So.
All right. Nadine says, I hope to participate in a future show on raising vibrations, meditation techniques, and awakening our inner psychic.
Yes.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of things going now. We're trying to get a guest lineup handled. February is a really weird time now with people who do TV. So we're trying to get that done. We only have 8 minutes left.
Unbelievable.
Time for some really shameless self-promotion. So guys, March 11th, if you're in anywhere near Kentucky, Franklin, Kentucky, March 11th, my team and I are doing an open to the public investigation at Octagon Hall. Octagon Hall.
Go with you.
Yeah, you need to go. Octagon Hall in my 26 years has now become my number one. There isn't any facet of the paranormal you won't experience or haven't been experienced to there. Everything. I mean, elementals, shadow people, apparitions, physical touch, EVPs, disembodied voices. I mean, everything. It's going to be open to the public. If you go to the Haunted Travelers Facebook page, the events are in there for you to be able to get. Even go on my page, you go down further. I share the event quite often. There are only 8 tickets left. We've already blown through almost all of the tickets for that event, but the last 8. I don't know how or when that'll ever happen again for this event because the place is honestly 4 hours away. But it is so well run as an event location that we just had to do it. So if you want an opportunity to get to investigate a hell of a wicked place is amazing. With our team, we'd love to have you. Again, is The Haunted Travelers Facebook page. Go to events, click on the event, get your tickets there. There's only, like I said, 8 left. That is it. When it's done, it's done. I will not overrun the event. I will not put more people than the event venue can hold or be comfortable with, or I don't want to over contaminate the building either when you're trying to have a good time. And that's what we try to do with you guys, is try to have a good time. So again, take a look at it. Let us know. It's 5.5 hours from 6 p to 11:30 ish. We never end on time. So it's a good time to have. If you get a chance, take a look at it.
I just put the link, everybody, up for the Haunted Travelers in the comments.
Awesome.
So have a look.
Good friend. Thank you, sis. I appreciate it. And Nadine says, how does anyone get tickets? If for some reason you can't get them through the Haunted Travelers Facebook page, reach out to me. Send me a message. I'll send you a direct link to the event. Excuse me. I'll send you a direct link to get tickets. But they will be gone by the end of the week. And it is March 11th. So, we love the place. You will love the place. It is hot. I mean, mannequins move on their own. Yeah, we got that going on. Yeah, we got some crazy crap going on. So, yeah. But get the tickets, guys, while they can. When they're gone, I've got to shut it down. We got to move on, but we hope you get a chance to enjoy it with us. So, yeah. What else? What do you got going on?
You know what? I've got a lot of, since COVID, I kind of went digital, right? So I was doing a lot of online sessions, and now that that's kind of subsided a bit, I'm getting many phone calls for in-person sessions. So I'm traveling a lot. I'm back out on the road. I didn't know if I was going to do this again in terms of getting out and doing stuff, but I just have so many people wanting sessions, and I'm very grateful for that. But a lot of group gallery sessions, so I'm traveling. In the spring, there's a couple dates I'm going to be hitting where I've been asked to be part of a metaphysical, spiritual wellness day, where they want me to kind of give my wisdom and do some readings and gallery stuff. So I'm going to be assisting with that. When I get the dates, I'll let you know. But honestly, work, doing cleansings like you wouldn't believe, and just trying to survive the winter. I don't winter well, so I was not born in the right country, I'll tell you that much.
Well, I will tell you, I'm from New York. If you can't tell, I'm not Southern. I'm from New York originally, and right now my family is facing negative 25.
And that's Fahrenheit for my Canadian friends.
Yeah, Fahrenheit. I only remember one occasion when it was that bad, and I was running fishing boats back then, and I had about 12 people out cod fishing, which is a saltwater, cold weather fish, and it was negative 50 degrees wind chill factor. People's fishing line was freezing on the reels coming up.
God. Are you for real? Sorry.
Crazy stuff. But yeah, so we're in the 50s today. We'll be up almost 60 tomorrow. So yeah.
That's crazy. We were 40 below. So 40 degrees, like minus 40. And so that's bloody cold. Like I'm trying to think, 32 below and 32 below I think is the same. So it was very, very cool.
Herbie asked when he can go on an event with both of us. That is going to be a while.
Yeah, well, we're gonna figure something out. We'll figure it out. It's just it's I'm about 18. Well, I might be longer from you now. 18-hour drive, I think. I think I'm that far. I think it's about 18 or 19. You're down in Georgia now, right?
Yeah.
When it was right Tennessee, when you were in Tennessee, I think it was about 15 hours. We'd figured, and I was gonna go down, and then COVID happened.
Yeah, COVID happens. You have too much COVID going on.
Yeah. For real. You saw what I did there. I love puns. I'm pretty punny.
Yeah, you're pretty funny. I like you funny though. That's all right. All right, guys. We're gonna end up a little bit earlier tonight than normal on the close, but we appreciate you guys coming out. We are going to try to get you. We got one more show coming up next week, and then the following week I am not available.
You're you got a little thing going on.
Got a thing, doing a thing. Yep, doing a thing, getting married. Yep.
Oh, cool. Yep. I'm happy for you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Guys, we'll be, huh?
I wish I could be there.
Well, me too. I wish you could be here, but
I'll be there in spirit.
Nervous. It'll be all right. Well, thank you guys all again. It's great having you all here with us. We appreciate it so much. Your support means a lot. Again, if you've seen or heard something on a show you think needs to be shared, or you feel like it, like the show. Yeah, share the show. Yeah. We'd appreciate it. It would mean a lot to us if you would do that. But until next week.
Thanks, Nadine.
Talk to you guys later.
Yeah. Bye.